This is a CBS 4 News update.
Good morning, I'm Lauren Pastrana. Puerto Rico's embattled governor is stepping down. Ricardo Rosselló made the announcement on Facebook just before midnight. The governor says he will step down next Friday, August 2nd. His announcement set off a wild celebration in the streets of San Juan. Puerto Rico's Secretary of Justice, Wanda Vazquez, will be the new governor. Tragedy on the water during the first day of lobster mini season. Search crews from the Broward Sheriff's Office and the Coast Guard got the call around 9 a.m. yesterday of a missing diver near the Hillsborough Inlet. Broward Fire Rescue says the diver was in the water with 3 others when he went missing. He was spotted but then drifted away. Later in the day, divers on a commercial dive boat spotted the man at the bottom of the ocean. We spoke with the dive master and owner of that boat.
Do what you have to do to save somebody's life, and you start CPR and you go into that emergency procedure. So it's something that we're trained, and you don't expect it, but it happens, and then it just sort of kicks in, the adrenaline kicks in, and you do what you got to do.
Silver lining for us is that we had something to do with getting him back to his family and have some closure for that.
The crew of that boat immediately radioed for help, and BSO got the man and brought him back to shore. The deceased man's identity has not been released. We are told he's in his 60s or 70s. No foul play is suspected. This morning, the search is on for the 4 thieves who beat and robbed a jewelry store owner. Officers say 4 armed thieves walked into MVJ Jewelry in Little Havana yesterday morning, demanded jewelry, and beat up and tied the owner. They fled with thousands of dollars worth of watches, chains, and wedding rings. Investigators warn the crooks are dangerous.
We are concerned due to the violence that was used on this victim, and the fact that not only did they rob him, but they also used physical force to tie him down and punched him in order to make out with these items.
Anyone with information on their identities is urged to call police. And we are learning more about the water emergency in Fort Lauderdale that became quite an issue last week. City leaders now tell CBS 4 the subcontractor responsible for the massive water main break was not digging in the right spot to begin with. Florida Communications Concepts opened a ticket with Sunshine 811. That's where contractors are able to find out if they are buried utility lines where they plan on digging. On their ticket, they listed the dig address as 2525 Northwest 55th Court, the rear easement of the building. But the actual dig was a few hundred feet away at 2417 Northwest 55th Court.
If you look at the location that's on the ticket, 2525 Northwest 55th Court, the city does not have a water line running under that area. If you look 250 feet to the northeast, we do have a utility, a water main running in that area.
Based on the address, the city responded saying it's not the service provider for that location. The subcontractor told us it has no comment right now.
Now, CBS 4 weather with meteorologist Lisette Gonzalez.
Happy Thursday as we take a view from our Windjammer Resort Camera Lauderdale by the sea. It's been a beautiful, albeit warm, steamy start to the day. Already into the low 80s in Miami, Fort Lauderdale, and Key West. And we are feeling like the upper 80s in the Keys and even through parts of Miami, feeling like 88. Feels like 84 in Fort Lauderdale. We're to the south of the stall front, which has been soaking parts of Tampa, Daytona Beach, Central Florida, dealing with plenty of wet weather. We had storms overnight and very early in the morning, but now we're dry on the radar. Breeze out of the southwest, south about 310 miles an hour with the heating of the day, high soaring to the low 90s. We'll see storms developing, and a few could turn strong. We could see some heavy rain, lightning, gusty winds, and lobster mini season ending at midnight tonight. And the weather conditions cooperating for now. In fact, the first half of the day is your best bet for getting out there and enjoying calm conditions with seas at about 1 to 2, a light chop on the bays, wind southwest 5 to 10 knots. But then this afternoon, we'll see those storms developing and moving from the interior sections and then towards the east coast areas. So for tonight, scattered storms, still unsettled with the upper 70s. Keep your umbrella handy through tomorrow as the storm chance remains high. An ocean breeze setting up as we head into the weekend. Lauren.
Lizette, thank you. That's the news for now. You can always find us on CBSMiami.com and tune into CBS 4 News at 5, 6, 7, and 11 for all of today's important headlines.